everyone, and welcome to 40 something and fabulous in London. I'm Inez Roberta, and if you did or didn't join me last week, I'm a 40 something Londoner who leads a non-stop lifestyle. I'm a dance lecturer, a choreographer, a fitness freak, a yoga enthusiast. I'm a world traveller. I've been to over 75 countries, and I'm also into fitness, health, all things about being over 40 and fabulous. And this show is about my life and how I can help you. To be fabulous over 40, and indeed any age, there's something here for everyone. Now, I've been on over 800 internet dates in my time. And I spoke a little bit about this last week. And this leads us on to today's show. So in today's show, I'll be telling you how I got into internet dating, and a couple of my hilarious stories, and also a couple of tips for you out there who are still looking for love, or indeed looking for anything else for that matter. I'm also going to be looking at my weekend away in Luxembourg, which was fantastic, and a couple of tips on finding flights and hotels, not just for Luxembourg, but just in general. And I'm also going to be looking at flexibility and a crafty little exercise that you can do to increase flexibility at home. It's one of the reasons I'm sitting here on the floor today. Because as you get older, your flexibility does decrease. But let's start off with internet dating, which I'm going to talk to you about because I never really wanted to talk about it before, but I used to go to friends' dinner parties, and it was always, Inez has got these fantastic stories about her hilarious first dates that have gone bad, basically. And so I started to write them all down, and there's a lot of them. I started off with Match.com probably about 15 years ago now, maybe even more. I know that I was probably one of the first people to start internet dating that I knew, and it was all very taboo back then. And my very first experience was a really, really good one. I got my profile up, and I started talking to a guy who lived in Los Angeles. And he knew a producer who was doing a show called E-Love. And they were talking about dating across the pond. And he said, would I like to fly to Los Angeles for a few days to meet him and be filmed to do a show? I, of course, jumped at the chance. And the rest is history. I flew out to LA. And although I didn't find love with Vincent, I actually fell in love with LA. And I ended up spending a lot of time there over the last few years. And I still do now. But this was my first kind of intro into internet dating. I thought, well, this is a fantastic experience. Look what's happened. Unfortunately, it all went downhill from there. The very first proper internet date I had was with a professor who looked in his profile fabulous. I think I was about 28 at the time. He was 35, so only a little bit older. The interchange between us before we met was great. He had these wonderful black and white photos, and we decided to meet at a local bar. I turned up and I was looking around and I couldn't see anybody who fit this description. And all of a sudden I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turned around and there was an old man standing there. I say old, probably around 70, so not really that old, but still older than 35. And he said, Inez. And I said, yes. And he said, I'm Mark, your internet date. And I said, I was so shocked. I mean, my jaw must literally have dropped to the floor. And he said, oh, sorry about the pictures. They were taken 35 years ago. So actually he was 70. And they were black and white for a reason. They weren't black and white because they were artistic. They were black and white because probably colour photos hadn't been invented then. So I just said misrepresentation and walked out. So that was my first proper internet dating experience. So I'd gone from this lovely LA kind of filming trip to that. So that was my very first one. But out of the trip that I did with Vincent in Los Angeles, we got asked to go on the Oprah Winfrey show in New York. And I got an all expenses paid weekend trip with Vincent to New York, which is fantastic. And there in the green room, waiting to go into the studio, I had the most amazing experience. I was looking at health and fitness books, and a lady started talking to me, and she sounded really cool. She sounded very New York. She was talking about fashion and about dating, and we just really got on very well. She got called into her interview. I carried on looking at the books in the green room, and finally when my time came to go into the studio, the producer came in and said, "Oh, have you been speaking to Candice Bushnell?" And then the penny dropped. It was Candice Bushnell who I'd been talking to, who wrote Sex and the City. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I really wish social media was around back then, because that would have been a brilliant post to put on Facebook. Anyway, that aside, my tip for you for if you're looking at internet dating, one of the first tips I would say is ask the person for a recent picture based on my first experience. There are many more tips and dating stories I have for you that I'll be telling you over the next few weeks. I've got over 800 experiences under my belt, so there's lots more fun stories to come. But I'm going to move on now to my weekend in Luxembourg, of which I filmed a little excerpt to show you now. Welcome to lovely Luxembourg. Look at it, it's amazing, it's a wonderful day. And if, like me, you've been to a lot of European cities and countries already, then Luxembourg is a great place to come for a reasonable weekend away. Now, there's something here for everyone. You've got your galleries, Mudem, which is fantastic. You've got the Am Tunnel. You've got restaurants, bars, all kinds of wonderful things to do. Gardens, look at the scenery. It really is a fantastic place to come for a weekend. Now, I got my flights for £20 return from Skyscanner, and I booked them a couple of months in advance. And if you're just going to be travelling light with a small bag, you can really make use of these cheap flights. Skyscanner, Kayak, these kind of places are fantastic to look for cheap flights, but I'll talk a bit about that later. I'm going to talk about the amazing places we've been to while we've been here to eat and drink. We went to a Metropolitan Bar and Restaurant, which was great. The food was fantastic, great cocktails, you get a really nice meal. I had some great vegetarian tapas, we had a great chicken dish, and it all came to under €50. If you want something a bit more upbeat, you've got the Pan Am Bar, which goes on till about 3 in the morning. And we found this really quirky, cool place called Conrad Cafe and Bar, which was really cool. It's kind of a little bit hipstery, and that was in the High Town. Now, the hotel we stayed at was the Hotel Perrin, formerly a Carlton Hotel, and that was only £150 for 2 nights for bed and breakfast. So you're looking at a combination altogether of just over £100 a person if you book your Stansted Express tickets in advance and get your Web Duo offers. We went on a Friday night, going back on a Sunday night, so it's a great little weekend away. I'm going to give you some little tips now on flights. You're looking at Skyscanner, the best thing to do is to go through different apps and things. So you're looking at your iPhone, have it on your computer, have it on your iPad, and just go to all of them because they do recognise you. So obviously delete your cookies, that's another good tip. And also book on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening, I find is really, really good. Midweek, evening, don't ever go to book your flights on the weekend. They're going to be sky high. I watch the flights like people watch the stock exchange. Yeah, so you can really get some good deals if you book in advance. In terms of your hotels, a good tip is if you're booking with booking.com, and I've done this several times before, you go to book your hotel you're looking at, you put it in your shopping basket, but you don't actually buy it. Surprise, surprise, a day later, you may get a message from booking.com telling you 10% off hotels. So that's a really good tip to know as well. The good thing about Luxembourg, as well as the wonderful surroundings, is public transport is free, completely free. So you're free to go everywhere. And book on the walking tour, that's also free. And that's at 11 o'clock every morning, lasts for 2 hours. So, hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of Luxembourg. Bye! I hope you enjoyed hearing all about Luxembourg. And again, please don't hesitate to contact me and ask me for any more information about my trip this weekend, and indeed any other questions that you might have. I'm going to finish up today with my flexibility tip of the day, and this tip is something that I learned when I was much younger. And I'm still very flexible for my age. So I thought that this tip might be something that you yourself at home could do. And it costs absolutely nothing. Now, we all spend, well, most of us spend at least some time in the evening, maybe watching a TV program, maybe watching a film, catching up on something on screen, maybe a YouTube video, maybe watching me. And the thing that I would always do when I was younger to increase my flexibility here is take a stack of books, or you could use anything actually. So I've got here a stack of books, and put it slightly in front of you and then just rest your elbows on the books so that when you're watching television, you are stretching out these muscles here and increasing your flexibility. Anything you do that holds over about 20 seconds, you're working on increasing flexibility. So eventually, as I would do this for maybe half an hour, watch a show for half an hour, and then you'll start to be able to take off the books, so you end up with less books and you get lower and lower. So maybe just try it once a week to start off with, and then as you go on, eventually you may well be able to go all the way down. So that's one of my tips for increasing flexibility. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Please do subscribe, please do like, and please do get in touch with me for any suggestions you have of things that you would like me to talk about for being over 40 and fabulous in London, or indeed anywhere else in the world. See you next week.